My name is Maddie Hennessy. I'm with the Independent Garage Owners North Carolina. We're ready to kick off our monthly Lunch and Learn with ATI. Today's coach is Greg. Greg, go ahead and take it away.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here doing this for the Independent Garage Owners of North Carolina. And today, presenting something a little off the wall. Maybe you have heard of this debrief. We put this in play as part of our one-on-one meetings with our employees on a daily basis or weekly basis or even monthly basis. But this will give you some background how to effectively get your processes into place and to do it more effectively, and to also hope that you gain some leadership skills and see how this thing is done. And I'll get into a lot of the background, and hopefully we have some people joining us, be interactive. We'll have some fun in this, take some questions, and hopefully put this thing into practice to help you guys out on a more daily basis. So again, my name is Greg Finnerty, and I started in this business way back in 1989, sweeping floors at a Pep Boys location in Baltimore. And through growth there, and kept this job through high school, getting into, wasn't sure whether I was going to do college or not. And Pep Boys kind of paved the way and said, nope, we kind of want you as a manager. And I thought that was really good. And they threw some money my way, and I forewent college and said, going to start here. And I lasted from, sweeping floors, like I said, all the way up through running a $5 million store operation in Baltimore. And soon left there and thought I wanted to get out of retail, and did some work for Advanced Auto Parts Logistics. So actually what I did there was I set up warehouses and created processes. This was a new business adventure for them. And I set up warehouses in Washington, D.C., and also Atlanta, and also the Baltimore location. From there, I went into the sales side of things, out on the road, beating the street, like some of you, you're outside salespeople. I was one of those guys for 15 years. And then I finally landed at ATI about 4.5 years ago. And this is home. You know when you're there, and you love what you do. When you get to work, you give the discretionary effort. And this is basically what happens here. The discretionary effort is a term I'm going to use a lot. This is what you want out of your people. This is what makes your shop run better. You don't have to ask for things to get done. They're just done because it's the right thing to do. You built that culture in your shop, and we're going to get into this debrief. So again, the debrief was brought about from a military guy that I know. His name is Jeff Bonner, and he basically was a pilot, and later on in his career, he was training pilots. So the background on Jeff was, after he got out of the military, he took a fellowship at Harvard University, and one of his colleagues kind of asked him in class one day, is like, how does the military do stuff? How do they achieve high performance results, and why are they the best in the world? What secret do you have? And he kind of thought about it and said, well, thinking about this, looking at businesses and comparing them to the military, where we differ is this really debrief process. So I wanted to go through this. It's in his book that I'll mention at the end here. But basically, the objectives today. Quite frankly, I think that everyone's been in a position where you've tried to implement a process, and we'll go over a few examples, and it didn't go well. Probably weren't satisfied with the results. And typically as shop owners, you probably just said, nope, you didn't do it right. This is how we want it done, and gave it back to your team members to try it over, do over again. And typically the results are, maybe they got a little bit better, maybe they didn't. And in some cases, you probably have given up on that process and said, nope, we just can't get it done, threw it out the door and said, apparently it works in some shops, it's just not going to work in my shop. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Typically that's what happens, right? So, but if you had some secrets, had a couple little ways to better the implementation process, to get better results, to get this discretionary effort that we talked about. Would that interest you? And hopefully this presentation today will give you some of those tools to better implement those processes, not only for your people, but for you as well to become a better leader. You're definitely going to see some better results. So that's exactly what we're going to do here today. So again, I offer you to hang with me through this thing and we'll get through it. So what is the debrief? All right, so the debrief really is a review model. It can help you become better today than you were yesterday. Okay, again, we talked about Colonel Bonner here is in the Marine Corps flying a Harrier. He then resigned from the military, basically from the Marines, and went to the reserves as a A-10 Warthog pilot, and did plenty of tours over in Iraq. I think he did 4 total. So, with training and things like that, it really develops this mindset that the military has, why they are the best in the world. What do they do that makes them the best? And we're going to show you a couple scenarios on what the difference is. We hope to bring out your purpose and why you do the things that you do. Okay, if your team does not have a purpose on why they're doing what they're doing and really have conviction on presenting this to your customers or in a process, you haven't reached them, and typically they're not going to do the things you want them to do if they don't believe strongly in it. Okay, and again, we talked about being better today than you are yesterday. So we're going to evaluate the performance and show you some tips on how we achieve those better results. Okay, so the typical review process really looks something like this. And in the military, obviously they have an objective they want to do, so they spend hours planning it. And for pilots in particular, they're talking about who's going to be with us. What is the mission? Is it a sortie to take out certain objectives? Is it support? What is the plan? So they're planning really hours on planning, right? So they got the plan and they're ready to go. And the day of or 20 minutes before they jump into their planes, they're going to go over this real quick. Okay, this is our objective. This is what we want to accomplish. You're going to do this. I'm going to do this. If this goes wrong, this is what we're doing. And they're basically briefing. And then they go out, they get in the planes and they execute. Okay. And typically in our business, we do the same thing. So we want something done, and it could be any number of things. And we'll take a look at a couple examples. We have an idea of what we want done. We tell our employees, hey, this is what the expectation is. This is maybe even why we're doing it. And then we say, go get them. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock, we open up our shops. We're hoping that they do what we asked them to do. And we say, okay, hey, did that work? Did it not work? When do we really set the people down and say, hey, we did 10 things right, but these other 2 things didn't go as planned, and how do we go do that in our business? And it usually just takes this whole cycle again, right? Well, the military does it quite the same, okay, but they add one more piece, which is the debrief. And this is the area I really want to focus on today. The military really spends the bulk of their time debriefing. You would think it'd be the plan. It's definitely not the brief. That's the shortest part of this. The execution can be an hour or 3 hours, but typically the debrief is the longest part, and it's usually twice the length of time of all these other 3 things combined. So with the debrief, they basically sit down at a table immediately when they're done their mission. They sit down, everybody basically pulls off their stripes so that they're all equal at the table, and they go over, obviously, what went right and the things they could have done better. Who could have done something more? Where did we fail? If there even are any failures, where could we even get better in the things that we've done? So they really spend a super amount of time on this debrief. And I think with the one-on-ones with your people, when we're trying to talk about things that we need to do better, whether it's implementation, whether it's everyday processes, debriefing is the key to success. Okay, and we'll show you again some ideas on how this really works. Okay, the military does it without fail every time, and that's how they are the best in the world, hands down. So I ask you rhetorically, is something like this possible in your shops? Quite frankly, I believe it is. Okay, so let's get into this. So scenario number one, maybe not so much over the last 4 or 5 months because it's going really crazy with the car counts, I think that most people are seeing right now with the times that we're in. But, you know, think back a little bit. You know, have we ever had a car count dilemma? You know, you're experiencing a decline. So how are you going to get this back? Who's in charge of doing this? And I would say, you know, in my years in this business, that the owner thinks it's his problem. But I don't think that too much. I think that, you know, this is really a sales issue. Your sales advisor, if it is you, then yeah, then it is your problem. But if you do have a dedicated service advisor, car count is directly on the weight of the service advisor to get that up. And we can talk about ways to get that going. But, you know, so maybe you've taken in a seminar, maybe you've gone to a class, and here, one of the things we like to do is we introduce a phone log. And I don't know how many of you have ever heard of a phone log, what to do with the phone log. So I'm going to show you kind of what this thing looks like and why we use it. We want to capture the name, of course, pretty basic information here. When they call on the phone, who am I talking to? Let's get the year and the model made out, what it's for. Are they making an appointment or not? And what's the reason for their call? And they, again, very basic. But putting this into play, what this does is so that if they don't come in, you have a way to contact them. If they say no, maybe they didn't come in because they went somewhere else. You know, maybe you should call up and follow up and say, hey, I know you called. You didn't make an appointment. Was there some reason? Did you find someone else? All this information is really good information in the long run when we're trying to attract customers and deal with our car count problem. But typically, when we introduce this and we don't set it up properly, you know, lack of information leads to frustration. So you get this back from your service advisor and they may, you know, you're missing holes, there's gaps in it. Maybe there's even phone calls that they weren't written down. So, you know, typically, you know, you're getting 50 to 100 phone calls a week. If you got 3 names on this after a week, well, guess what? Your service advisor didn't do it. Now, was it implementation? Did they not have the tools? Did they forget it? Did they blow you off? You know, what really happens? So the next week you go back and what do we normally do? Hey, let's try it again. Did we change anything? Maybe, maybe not, right? And guess what happens? The next result comes, the next week's results, I'm sorry, and maybe they got 5 names or 6 names. You know you've taken way more phone calls than this, and they're just not doing it. So, you know, why do we keep putting these things into play week after week without a formal debrief about what the hurdles are? How can we be doing better, all right? So let's look at another scenario, the digital video inspection. And I don't know how many of you are currently using a digital video inspection. I hear a lot of our members have tried it, and it's a point of contention to get this thing off the ground. And it's typically because we don't understand the process. Techs don't understand why we're doing it when we've been doing something else for years. But even if they are on board with it, it's cumbersome in some places. It fumbles around. So, you know, why do we even put this into play? Are we talking about the benefit? You know, so you've heard of this through maybe SEMA. Maybe it was a convention you went to. Maybe it was just a class that the other owners were talking about how good DVIs are and how great it is for the industry. I personally believe it's awesome, right? But do we set the right expectations with this thing? Meaning, does the techs know why we're doing it? Do the advisors know why we're doing it? But like the phone log, if we don't explain it right and set expectations, What are the results? It takes longer. You know, we thought we were going to get more hours per ticket or maybe even a higher ARO, and it doesn't happen. And all the techs are getting is frustrated. All the service advisor getting are frustrated. So again, I ask you, how familiar does this sound? I hope it doesn't sound very familiar. For some of you, it may sound very familiar. So we're going to dive into the debrief. So how does it work? Well, it's a 5-step process that starts with gratitude. Okay, and we're going to talk about this acronym GREAT. So G being for gratitude. So we're going to show appreciation for what they've done. So when we're talking about a phone log or a DVI and it's just not working, through the one-on-one conversation with your people, we're basically going to bring them in, put our arm around them and say, look, you're a great guy, you're a great gal. We'd love to see you do better. We're just not getting to where we need to go. Okay, we're doing something wrong, and let's talk about those things that we're doing. Okay, the second step is review. Why are we doing this? Well, we want to work smarter, not harder. We're hoping to capture more work when the car's in our bays rather than sending out with a grocery list of what to do next time, right? Because those things that you put for next time or we can do this later, they're not guaranteed. So our theory is that, you know, 2 birds in a hand is better than 1 in the bush. So let's capture the work. Let's do the complete digital video inspection and get everything out to the customers and do more work on the cars. Better for everyone. The E in GREAT is for evaluate. Make sure that what you're doing makes sense. Why are we doing this? Are we tackling the right goals? Okay. The A is for anticipate, and we're going to anticipate the future. And we're going to get to T, which is taking time out. It's not on this slide, and I purposely left it off so that I can come back to you guys and see if you remember what the T was. And again, T is for taking time out and what that means, right? So again, Bonner says the best way to predict your future is, I'm sorry, Bonner doesn't say this, Abe Lincoln says this. The best way to predict your future is to create it. And again, I agree with that 100%. So let's look at how we can do these things. So let's look at Grateful. I'm going to give you a little story about Bonner that he has in his book. And he talks about his first time after he qualified. He's a pilot in the Navy, I'm sorry, in the Marines. And he talks about going to the boat. And if I have anyone in the Marines or a pilot in here, going to the boat is basically the first time that they take off from an airport and land on an aircraft carrier. And so Bonner gets up in the air with 2 other pilots, and he's flying out to the boat where he knows his commanding officer is going to be there to guide them through this qualifying on the deck of a aircraft carrier. And he says, you know, he's flying out there and he's feeling this emotion of he's not ready. He can't do this. It's overwhelming. And he says he sees this boat, you know, it's a mile down. And he's like, how am I landing this plane on that little postage stamp? It isn't going to happen. Somebody put me in this situation and I'm not supposed to be here. He said, just when all these emotions are going through his head, the commanding officer comes on the intercom in his ear and basically says, guys, this is what you're training for. There's no better position that anybody would rather be in their life than what you guys are doing right now. You're sitting underneath a $40 million aircraft. He said, and how many people would kill to be in this position that you're in? It's a great day. We're going to get through this and we're going to move your career forward. Now Bonner says that, you know, he was thinking that he wasn't ready, didn't have the training, wasn't worthy until his boss, commanding officer, gets on and says, there's never no place that anyone would rather be than in your situation right now. So the mindset that this set for him to do the job that he was trained to do went 180 degrees. Okay. So the gratitude in this really reflect on where you are in your business, how far you've come with this employee that you're trying to train up. Okay. Give them that attaboy or attagirl that you need, and be grateful that they are on your team at this point in time. Okay. So again, what are some things they're grateful for? Well, gratefulness can come in our gratitude can come in a lot of different things. They come to work on time. They have a great attitude. They're great with the customers. Heck, they might even do certain things around the shop that you never asked them to do. All those things you need to kind of tell them, right? So what's it accomplish? Again, I talked about that mindset. It establishes the winning mindset to go about handling the things that you want to have handled, or the process that you want to implement, or the task that you want to have done, okay? Also creates a sense of winning, meaning they've done this, they've been there, we got confidence in them, and we're happy to have them. Biggest and last thing on this slide is, remember that no matter what happens to us in this great country of ours, that our worst day, okay, is vastly better than most people's best day in this world. There are a lot of places to be, and I got to tell you, even with things going on now, guys and gals, you know, you guys have your own business. It's a great country. It always will be. That's something to be immediately grateful for. All right. Any questions in the chat at this point? If not, we can continue. Maddie, do you see anything?
I do not currently see anything. Feel free to put anything in the chat or unmute yourselves and ask away.
Okay. So here we go. We're on to the R of great. We're going to review the goals. What is your why? Okay. Why are we doing the things that we're doing? Is it for increased ARO? Is it for increased productivity? Is it for whatever those reasons are? Now, this is a pretty basic statement and it's broad, but I want you to hone in on it. Okay. I would ask, do you have a mission statement? And I don't mean like a military mission statement, but why do you do the things that you do? Does your shop have a vision and mission statement? Does everyone understand what those things are? Okay, a goal. Because it does create value. It creates a sense of why they do the things they do. And if it's just for a paycheck, maybe we need to refocus on why we're in business and why they're working there in the first place, right? So we talked about the vision or mission statement. What's your goal in reviewing the process? And I like to think of it in a really short kind of way here. Your goal is to blank in order to blank. So really to the point, this definitely captures your what and your why, but it needs to have something else. It needs to really focus on powerful things, okay? So we got to create value and we need to be able to sell that value to the customer. So wherever this fits in, you know, I would strongly recommend using powerful words in this phrase, like my goal is to inspire, it's to create, it could be customer loyalty, it could be anything that you want, but use powerful words to whatever you're trying to accomplish, right? Whatever that goal is. And the end result is really taking care of the business, taking care of the customers, building the culture that you want, the engagement that you want with your employees, and to build that loyalty. Again, you just create a mission statement, whether you knew it or not. So that little phrase there, my goal is to blank in order to blank. If you don't have a mission statement or a vision statement, I think you just created one. Now, again, put some time into it. This is kind of first draft and rough, but if you don't have one, maybe this is the time to get one, right? So then we're going to evaluate the process. We're going to, you know, we got them in. We told them how good they were. We told them kind of why we're doing the things we're doing, and then we're going to evaluate. So here's what we did well, right? Did we follow it 100%? Maybe, maybe not. So we're going to talk about the things, what went well in the process, and we really want to come up with at least 3 things. And why 3 things are important goes back to the military concept. So in the military, what the higher ups or the powers to be know is that to overcome a adversary or a enemy, they need a 3-to-1 ratio. So if it's a naval situation, they want to go in with 9 boats versus 3 boats. If they know it's 300,000 people they're facing, the U.S. military wants to go in with 900,000. So they do this all throughout the military, and that's a secret of the military, meaning it's the overwhelming an enemy with the fire team concept. Okay, that 3 to 1 is the fire team concept, meaning 3 teams to a firing squad. You know, those 3 make up a platoon, those platoon make up a company, and so on. And you'll see that in the military a lot. Okay, so when we're talking to our internal customers, our employees, and we're going over the process, I like how you answered the phone. I like how you're taking pictures if it's a DVI. I like that you're doing descriptions, but we need to tighten this up. Here's the things I need to tighten up. So we always go to the 3 to 1 concept. Make sense? So when we're talking about this too, how do we constantly repeat the good things? Well, we got to give praise for that. Keep doing this. I like what you're doing here. But what is that one thing we can improve on? We cannot get discouraged. Okay, change is hard. Okay, and when we're putting new processes into place, like a DVI, like a phone log, you know, we need to remember, don't get discouraged. It's messy, and it's going to be messy. What you're trying to create here is a culture of it's okay to make mistakes, but let's not make the same mistake over and over again, because I think that's where we really feel like we stumble, right? So, you know, that 3 to 1, but please don't get discouraged. This is mess. So we talked about the fire team concept. 3 fire teams make a squad, and so on. 3 squads platoon, 3 platoons make a company. So we're going to go about this in the same manner. Okay? So overwhelming force to tackle an issue. So the 3 to 1, that's what we're going to focus on. Please do not focus on more than one thing at each sit down with your employee when we're going through this. Okay? Next week is a different thing. We'll debrief it again next week, or the next time you do it, again, 3 to 1. Let's see if we can get that one thing behind us, and that will build momentum to the next issue that we want to tackle. Okay? So we're going on to the A, anticipate tomorrow. So when we figured out the 3 to 1 concept and what we're going to work on, we need to go back to our employees and say, what is going to stop you from achieving your goal? Okay, so putting them into the future. Is it going to be the phone? Is it going to be interruptions by the technician? Is it going to be an owner problem? The owner wants me to do 10 things and I can't get this done. Let's talk about it, okay? Let's talk about the hurdles that we're going to face. So Bonner did say this: nothing will have a bigger impact on success than a clear vision of the future. So we need to look down the road and say, huh, maybe it's a holiday coming up. Maybe we know we don't have a technician one day because they're out on vacation. They got a sick day and we can't do the things that we want to do because of this. Well, we know it. We're going to anticipate it, and we're going to come up with a plan to circumvent those things, okay? This is really a 2-step process. Keep it very simple. And we're going to talk about something called chair flying. Now, the military, this also comes from the military, and this is another secret that they do, is that basically they go into a room and they sit in a chair and they go over their whole flight plan, okay? So whatever that mission is, they literally sit in chairs. Hey, this is what I'm seeing. I can't do this. I can't see because of clouds. I can't see because of sand. I can't see because of this. What are we going to do? Maybe it was supposed to be 3 planes and now they're down to 2 planes. Who's going to pick up the other slack? Okay, so this isn't something that is just thrown out there to say you guys should do this. If you want to know why they're the best in the world, because they debrief and do exactly this step. It's huge in this whole great acronym for achieving success, meaning on the debrief, okay? Any questions so far? I'm looking through, I don't see any. So we'll keep going. We talked about gratitude, right? Giving up, you know, the props that your employees need to hear. We're going to review the goal, evaluate, and anticipate, right? Chair flying. The T that we didn't talk about is taking time out. Now, the T in this whole thing, taking time out, I'm a guy and I'm going to get a little macho or egotistical here. I never thought that I would be writing in a journal, meaning I never thought that processes and having a conversation with somebody, my successes and my failures, that I would need to write them down in a journal. I can tell you this is the fourth real secret to high performance, guys and gals. This is something that you need to do only because if you're going to be able to write things down where you were yesterday, okay, that's the only way to get better, is saying, you know, in 30 days, in 60 days, heck, a week. I did this last month. Look how far I've come. I overcame that. This is where I am today. Not that there's not any further thing to do, but it shows progress. And if you can show progress to your people, if you can show them where they were 60 days ago, 90 days ago, 6 months ago, and say, look how much further you've come. This is really, really important. If you think it's going to happen just in your mind, forget it. Because you and I both know, I can't even remember what I did yesterday, right? I don't know how it is for you. You're busy in the shop, everything's going on, and you try to remember like what happened 2 days ago, a week ago. It hardly ever sticks in our mind, all right? Take 5-10 minutes a day, write these things down in a journal. How was your day? What went well? What didn't go well? How again, use chair flying, use this whole acronym here to really take down your journal and say, I know the things I need to work on. Is this making sense? All right, well, here we are. We're at the review, and we talked about these secrets to high performance, and I'll go through these. You know, we talked about the number one secret was to add the debrief. Military pilots do it. It's a long process, and they spend a lot of time in the debrief, where I don't think in the actual business world, we do enough of it. The second was employing the 3-to-1 concept. So being grateful for 3 things or 3 things they did well, and coming back with only the one thing that we need them to improve on. It's huge that we don't overwhelm them, okay? Not saying they can't handle it, but baby steps. Small steps wins the race, okay? The third was chair flying, anticipating the future and looking out what the obstacles that we're going to face and being ready to defuse the bomb before it goes off. And the last but not least is the journal, okay? So those are the secrets. So if you can do these things, I think putting them into daily practice on a process, on something that's new in your shop, will dramatically have huge impacts on what you do. The key is to stick to it. It's going to be, again, a little bit out of your comfort zone because you haven't done it before, but that's okay. Your employee that you're having your one-on-one conversation with also does not know this is coming. They're not going to know if you fumble a little bit. And just like interviewing, like other things that we do in the shop, it takes practice, guys. It really does. And so this slide basically is given Colonel Bonner the props. This is in his book, The Daily Debrief. It is available on Amazon. I don't think it's in audio form just yet. If you want the book, it is a fairly easy read. In a weekend, you can get this thing done. And there is some bonus material as well in the book. He's got some worksheets and things like that that you can use in your meetings that will increase the productivity here with this stuff. So I would open up the floor if anyone has any questions, comments, or concerns, or something that you're not clear of. Please ask. I'll do my best to answer those questions at this time.
Thank you, Greg. Feel free to drop questions in the chat or feel free to unmute yourselves and ask away.
Guys, I couldn't, Bill, I appreciate you being here. Janelle, again, I appreciate you being here. I couldn't have did that great a job, but if you don't have any questions, I'm going to pat myself on the back here. I appreciate your time, and everyone else out there, appreciate your time on this lunch and learn. I hope you got something out of it.
Thank you, Greg. It doesn't seem that there's any questions, but we appreciate you, and you must have just done a stellar job. No questions to be had.
I appreciate the opportunity, Maddie. I have fun. Oh, there is something in the chat. Oh, Bill, appreciate the great job. I appreciate it. We appreciate you giving us the time here with the Garage Owners North Carolina. Pleasure to be here as always.
All right, thanks, Greg. The next ATI monthly lunch and learn chat will be on October 21st, and that'll be with Coach Leanne Williamson over the Grow cycle. So keep an eye out for that. Registration will open shortly, and thank you all and have a great day.
Thanks, guys.